All right. Well, welcome to The Dash, episode 2,
Yes, sir.
with the one and only Caleb Harvey sitting here on my right. It's a pleasure to have you, brother.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
And the one and only Nick Bazzoni,
Yes, sir.
our fantastic co-host, co-creator with all the boys. It's cool to get this thing rocking. It's a beautiful Friday evening in Nashville, Tennessee, right off 12 South. We have, like I said, Caleb Harvey here today to talk about just probably everything.
A little bit of everything, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I test the waters.
Yeah.
A couple different areas.
Yeah. Well, tell us about what you've been up to in the past couple months, couple weeks, etc.
So I just got back from a trip, went around the country with a group called OneRepublic. They've been around for about 15 years, music group, great group of guys. They decided to hire me for a personal trainer on the road. A lot of people don't really know about that particular niche. You know, not everybody's aware of like the tour life, especially for like a personal trainer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was, one of like 30, 40 guys out there in the crew. But they brought me out there to train, so it was all health, it was all fitness. I had my workout equipment. I brought my boxing equipment, Muay Thai pads, shield bag, stuff like that. So we did some like boxing, striking training. That was probably the most fun for me as far as the training, just because that's my love.
Yeah.
Just for the sport of boxing and for martial arts. Incorporates a lot of body control, obviously, but it takes a lot of discipline, right? And it takes a lot of mental acuity as well. So just all around one of my favorite ways to train. And so to get to share that with them, get them on the mitts, we did get like a little bit of heavy bag work in here and there, do some like footwork, defense drills. I had them sparring on top of cardio regimens and weights training and stuff like that with what we had available. We didn't always have like a lifetime kind of setup, but we would get like a nice room. I would move my equipment in there, dumbbells, kettlebells. I had a whole bunch of bands. I had a weighted vest that I would use pretty regularly, stuff like that, TRX bands. And when we had access to a local gym, I would Uber out there with one or two of the guys, and we'd go get a solid workout in for like an hour, hour and a half, and then work back. Guys who want to do mitts, I would have a schedule. So usually the day before, we had like a group text, and I would reach out to the guys. I would usually talk to individually, but a lot of times in this group chat, just say, hey, who wants to work out today? Like what time? Like what's the schedule looking like? And I'd build my schedule that way. So, yeah, and I'm kind of just rambling here about a lot of stuff, but basically, I'll let you go ahead and take over here.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic.
Yeah. I guess my question is, how do you get to a point where you're OneRepublic's trainer? Like, where not everyone just gets a call and says, OneRepublic wants
That's a
you
great
to train
question.
them.
Yeah. Honestly, I find myself still asking that question. No, just kidding. So there was a gentleman by the name of Brody. I like his name too. He's got a cool name. I always have to note that.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, but like he's a really cool guy. I've been training him for about a year now, and he for a while was telling me all these really kind of funny and cool stories about working with the band OneRepublic. And I'm like, from the get-go, I was just like, yeah, like I know them. They put out Apologize. That was like, I don't know, it was like a really cool hit song back in the day.
Yeah.
I remember learning that on the keyboard, like one of the first songs
crazy.
I learned, back when I was living in Tampa, like probably 15 years ago. And that's about when it came out actually, but really just really cool from that whole perspective. I got to meet Brody, and he just came in by chance, as a walk-in. Hey, want to do some training, want to lose some weight, get fit. So, he kind of fell in love with the boxing workout, getting in the ring, doing the heavy bag workout, all that stuff. I would take them through, hit circuits. We'd do like battle ropes and box jumps and ball slam, all kinds of stuff on the weights and squats and lunges, etc. And, we were getting good results. We just had a great time, just like, shooting the shit a little bit, and just hanging out. And a lot of people kind of look at it as just like the training time. It's not just physical, but mental. And so we became really close. And he's like, dude, I would love to bring this, on the tour, because the tour was all shut down for a couple of years with COVID.
Yeah.
So they had a tour scheduled. It was the Never Ending Summer Tour. Scheduled to take off in July. And back in February, OneRepublic came to town. They were playing at the Ryman. And so I'm training Brody. He lets, he's telling me, yeah, they're coming into town. I'd love for you to meet Zach and Brent. Brent is the bassist and the cello player. He also does a little bit of keys and stuff. And then Zach is the lead guitarist. So two, obviously, like big parts of the band. And I was, thrilled to get a chance to meet them. They actually got me a ticket to the concert, so I went and checked them out at the Ryman. I got to train with Zach when him and Brody came in. I trained them at the gym. I'm over at Tidal and Cool Springs, but anyway.
Yeah, go check it out. Go,
yeah.
Go
come
walk
take a
in
class
there.
with me.
Yeah, go get a workout in.
If you're in the Franklin area or the greater Nashville area, or any, just come on in. Yeah.
Bring a water gallon jug of water.
Yeah, get ready to sweat for sure. But yeah, anyway, so that was, like I said, that was back in February. Got to meet Zach, the guitarist, trained with him. We did, he had like a little exposure to like a Krav Maga trainer or something, some self-defense training. So starting out, I was able to quickly get him on the mitts, and he really took to the Muay Thai. I had my Muay Thai pads, and so we got to work, kicks and knees and elbows and all that kind of stuff on the pads, and put some combos together, get a good sweat in, did some weights in the back, kind of hit it off. And then the following day after the show, I got a call from Brody, and I wasn't really expecting it. I was really hopeful and positive, but I wasn't like in my mind like, oh, this is gonna happen, like I got it. Like I'd been training for several years and been on boxing for 7 years, martial arts, wrestling, etc. for like 15 plus years. But to think that I was going to be going with a high level band, somebody that I'd listened to as a child, that all comes back around, and it's like, oh, here I am. I have this opportunity. I've been working my butt off at this gym, and just not taking anything for granted. It's a title gym. It's not like a big time, high level fighting gym, but I just made the most of my opportunities there, and met people, and made the most of those relationships. And that one with Brody, it just definitely manifested into a real gym, I think, with the opportunity to go on tour.
Yeah, and that door opened. Like that's something that I know that, you go through life, and doors can open, sometimes doors don't have to, and it's sometimes you want to go up to that door that's shut, and you're trying to pry it open. But in this case, it's pretty remarkable to see you just going in and doing your job exceptionally well day in and day out, and then you turn around and they're like, come on, and you were in a good enough opportunity, Lord willing, to be able to pack up shop and get on the road.
Oh yeah, dude, tell me about it.
There could have been
stars aligned for sure.
Yeah, there could have been 500 reasons why that may not have worked as well.
And that's why I jumped at that opportunity, because I didn't even have to question. I didn't, we didn't spend time to negotiate. It was just like, yes, I'd love to. Say no more, Didn't put any thought into it really. And then, it's funny with that too, because I didn't really think about it a lot on the front end, but like as time went on, and even like through the tour, and like, like sitting side stage and watching the band, and being in this atmosphere, and being with this group, really being a part of this organization, it was just eye-opening, just be like, wow, like I'm here, like in this place that I didn't really like think of myself like being in, you know, but
Yeah.
it was the stars just aligned, and like you said, it's like when with the preparation, when it meets opportunity, you know, things will work out. You know,
Yeah.
you just got to stay persistent. You got to just take things head on. When they come to you, you got to be ready. You got to be ready to step up to the plate. And you know, I'll just kind of speak a little bit on the injury that I had this year.
Yes.
Because I had a lot of people just bringing up to me like, oh, like, you know, like, how are you going to do this, that, blah, blah, blah. Like, I had a lot of, like, negative energy. And not, people don't necessarily realize it or see as negative energy, but to me, I kind of saw it as negative energy. Like,
And you felt it.
well, you know, people are always asking, are you okay? Like, oh, you know, like, this kind of just sobby, like, oh, you're a victim. And it's like, I constantly just felt this urge to just be like, no, like, it's okay. You know, like, just for anybody listening, I hurt my shoulder a couple months before the tour. I tore my AC joint. And fortunately, it was just a partial tear. It wasn't anything crazy. And it was just something, you know, stupid. I was playing football. I was in a flag football league. And I get really competitive. And so, like, I dove out for an interception. Land on my shoulder.
Did you catch it?
Yeah. I didn't think of anything
Attaboy,
of
attaboy.
it. Oh, dude, no. Like, I landed. I caught it.
That is all that matters.
Yeah, the quarterback was trying to, like, dump it off. You know, he made his reads. He turned to dump it off to the running back, and I sprinted all the way out. So when I dove, I had some momentum coming in there. But, you know, I guess, you know, I didn't quite realize that my joints, my ligaments weren't ready for that impact.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a whole other segment that we could probably get into. But anyway, you know, as far as the injury and more of, like, from the mental aspect of things, it tested me there. It was a big trial for me mentally because, you know, here I am already in this position where it's like, oh, like, I got to step up to the plate. You know, I got this big opportunity,
Yeah.
felt a lot of expectation and pressure, which, you know, wasn't necessarily warranted because these are all laid back guys, and, you know, they were just happy to have me out there. But, you know,
Yeah.
when you step up into an opportunity like that, sometimes it can be a lot of pressure, and we put that on ourselves. You know, this expectation of ourselves. It's like this perfectionism, but. I'm in this place, in this mind space where I'm like, okay, like, my shoulder is just, it's left the building. Like, there's nothing, I can't do any, you know, I couldn't do a push-up. I mean, you know, not to get too much into all the numbers and all that stuff, but, like, I mean, I went from doing like 30 pull-ups, I could knock them out. I was, like, in top shape really for me. And next thing you know, I can't do a single pull-up. You know, I can't even do a single push-up. Just no pushing, nothing there from that shoulder. And so immediately I just had to kind of shift my mindset into, like, okay, like, maybe I can't physically go super hard right now, but I can learn a lot right now through this process. And I did, you know, I learned a lot about the shoulder health and how to take care of the shoulder health, and maybe some of the reasons why my shoulder was a little bit more prone to injury, you know. When you start overtraining, or when you're not getting enough of certain nutrition, or you're not getting the right balance, you know.
Yeah.
And I had always been into that, you know, really invested into that field of recovery and holistic approaches. But to then have this experience kind of hit me in the face, and it's like, okay, now I got to really, like, figure out how to get my shoulder better. You know, I didn't want to do surgery. I opted out of that. You know, I met with the PT, and I went through a lot of the physical therapy training and that whole routine for several months. Even, like, while I was on tour, you know, I was doing tons of stuff still because my shoulder, even to this day, is not 100%. You know, I'm not even I haven't done barbell bench press in almost 6 months now. But a lot more body weight stuff, excuse me, as far as my workout goes, like, a lot more body weight routines, a lot more, like, working on, like, slow, like, controlled movements to, like, work on strengthening the joints, not just on my shoulder, but, like, knees, for example.
Yeah.
I work with so many people that have the shoulder issues, the knee issues, and so I got to really focus on that, you know, like, working with Eddie, the drummer, who's banging on drums all the time, and I'm like, oh, dude, like, here's a whole routine that,
That's
you know,
crazy.
I've been working through, like, to help my shoulders.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, I don't think I've ever heard of a drummer workout, but it makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
totally.
You know, because I don't know if you've seen the movie Whiplash with Miles Teller.
Dude, actually, I haven't. It's funny.
Yeah.
I know Miles Teller's.
Yeah.
He's a big
Yeah.
deal now.
Yeah.
I'm sure you all know that.
Yeah.
From the movie.
Yeah,
But go ahead.
He's just playing drums so much.
Yeah.
And his instructor was so hard on him that his hands and everything just would be bleeding and aching.
Yeah.
But it's like if you're going into a 2-hour show and you're used to playing those 2-hour shows, imagine how much probably better, just by like the 2%, could you be if you could play a 4-hour set that way.
Totally. Absolutely. And I mean, that's the thing, like with anything like that, you have to put the reps in. Like there's no way around that. But it's like now you're putting all these reps in and it's like, okay, how do I manage, all the wear and tear on the body now? And that's why you see like high level athletes are doing those ice baths, right? I do cold showers every day. I try to do an ice bath. I would say like if you could do an ice bath like once a week for like 5 to 10 minutes, I mean, you would see such good benefits. And just like preserving your body, right? Because that's the thing is like, again, we're working so hard, talking about Eddie banging on the drums for a 2-hour set. He's got to have something consistently to take care of his shoulder. We did a lot of core and stuff. We did like some stuff for his back and his posture.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's muscle groups that get lost sometimes in our body, or there's not just muscle groups, but like again, the joints and ligaments and part of the whole infrastructure in our body. We forget about it sometimes because we have that same routine over and over and over again. So to have somebody come in and provide, a different little bit of perspective and say, hey, like let's work on this and this to kind of balance, like Brent, Zach, Drew, like they're hanging that guitar and that bass on them all night.
Yeah.
Pulling those shoulders down, I want to work on trying to pull those shoulders back and try to, strengthen the back muscles and those rear delts.
Which is, again, is something I have never heard anybody say before. You know what I mean? Like, I've never heard any Belmont musician be like, I'm working out on my posture so that I can make sure I'm healthy and playing and looking good, looking strong and feeling strong so I can play this long set and then wake up the next day and go and play again.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's something, and maybe you are like the pioneer of this kind of ideology.
No way, dude. No way.
But I'm not kidding. I have never ever heard that before.
I think I just appreciate, optimizing in general. But like when we're talking about our lifestyle, we want to try to develop an approach. We don't want it to be so much work all the time, but put a lot of work into figuring out the strategy and this plan, and then it just kind of, after a while, it gets second nature. I don't have to force myself into a cold shower anymore. Whereas like before, it was a mental warfare going in there, because it's uncomfortable, right? It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's definitely a big part of it. When you talk about the discipline and all that stuff, but. Back to the guys in terms of like their specific training and all that stuff. I wasn't necessarily just looking for like their weaknesses, but more of just like things that they're not really used to doing that much. Like I said, trying to balance out what they're doing so much regularly when there's certain positions that they take on, and then trying to kind of balance that. Like another example for just thinking about like the crew guys, and all these guys are moving around so much, and I had a couple guys talking to me about their knees, and I had them start doing a lot of like backpedaling exercises, like walking up hills. I would grab one of my bands because I didn't have a sled, but I would have them like backpedaling, pushing off those knees and their toes, like just having them do some of these exercises to strengthen up some of their knees. And I got some good feedback from that. I mean, I had this one guy, he was doing the hill, and for a while he was complaining about his knees. He's in his 40s. Guy's been touring for 10 plus years, and I had him do some of these hill exercises, just running up, just real light jog backwards. And he did a couple of those, and he's like, dude, I could already feel like my knees feel better, like because you're getting the blood in there, and you're starting to put like tension on those ligaments a little bit in a very controlled manner, and they get stronger, they adapt, right?
Well, and it's not that like pressure and impact of running downhill, but it's instead propelling yourself up, which is totally different.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's literally the opposite, which goes back to what I was saying. It's like you do something so often, then it's like it's really good to find something that counters that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, I mean, that's just a good, I think, general rule.
Yeah.
And with all the guys, I try to apply that. Like with Zach, for example, like another example for you. Zach is a big, heavy lifter. Big dude. I mean, he's probably like 250, maybe even more.
He plays electric.
Yeah, he's the
right?
lead guitarist. Yeah.
Okay.
Big dude, strong guy, large muscles. He does a lot of like hypertrophy training, I noticed, but he does some like power training and stuff like that. So with him, I was trying to get him to work on doing some more like flexibility, mobility exercises. I got him doing a lot of like footwork and like fast twitch stuff to get a little bit more like twitchy and to generate speed and not and to have more range of motion as well, right? Like more like athletic training. And so again, it's just like you get people a little bit out of their comfort zone. You take a guy like that who's not used to, doing a lot of like agility ladder drills and like footwork and moving around, and you put him in boxing, which is a very technical sport, and he picked up really well with a lot of that stuff. Learning how to like stay balanced on pivoting and moving laterally and forward and back and every which way, and slipping and rolling and maneuvering. That's really what a lot of boxing is you're doing all these maneuvers and you're trying to keep your body in really good position, and that's where that body awareness and the footwork and coordination. And so that was one thing that we worked a lot on with Zach, was a lot of the footwork and the speed, the fast twitch, and mobility. But yeah.
That's fantastic.
So
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess I kind of want to circle back to tour. So, pretty general question, but what's tour like? What's it like living on the road, bro?
Yeah, so it's definitely much different than my home life. So, for 90% of the tour, it's all like on a bus, right? We're all driving on a bus all around the country. For this particular tour, it was all in the U.S. 12 bunk beds on the bus. We got the driver who, we get really familiar with. And we had like one bunk open. So we had 10 guys plus the driver. And they're all stacked up, 3 levels high, 2 rows. I was on a top bunk, which is, you get used to it. I actually kind of liked it. It's like a little bit of a workout getting up and down from there. But so the bus was like a big part of our life. We had the lounge in the front of the bus. We had a whole kitchen area with like a toaster or microwave, fridge, all that stuff. We had cabinets filled. One of my favorite parts of the tour, there's tons of cool things, but one of the really cool things I enjoyed was having a bus stock. So we had these sheets of paper, and every single morning, wherever we were, we'd show up to the next venue. We get up off the bus, like we're waking up, because we usually roll out from the previous show, like 1:30 is our bus call. We roll in, it varies in drive times, but on average, we're waking up the next day like 8, 9 o'clock, getting our day started. It's all, we have all the bus stock right there. We're filling out that list. Anything we want to put on there, they'll send the runners out and get it. So they have, the whole production team, they have tons of people doing their jobs. There's the assistant production manager who can just basically call up a runner. They got like a 15-seater van. They'll send the runner out to, basically a slew of grocery stores with this list, and they get whatever they can find. If they can't find whatever you put on there, they'll find, some alternative.
I can't imagine.
It was amazing, because a lot of people were kind of giving me like kind of some crap, because I had like my protein bars and I had like my Kodiak oatmeal, which I love, because it's like I like to have my protein and I like to have my oats, so that was one thing. People started giving me crap. They started calling me Irish. He's the crew chief. He started calling me Kodiak Caleb. That was pretty
Kodiak.
funny.
That's a good nickname. That's funny.
But yeah, man. So that's all just the bus. We spent some time at the hotel, so we would do like 2 to 3 shows, and we'd have a day off. On that day off, instead of going to the next venue, we go to a hotel to spend that day off. Typically the band, always the band has their own like bougie high-end hotel, and then we had like what I would consider a really nice hotel. It's just not like the top tier, right? I thought it was really cool because like the first day, or like the first hotel rather that we stayed at, we started out the tour. We were in DC. We did some shows, and then we were in New England. And I get up to my room and look out the window. I'm on the top floor. Look out the window, and there's Gillette Stadium right there. And I was just like, dude, this is sick.
Wow.
Like, you know, we got like the whole like strip there with a bunch of like cool restaurants and shopping centers. But so that was like early on in the tour. I'm just like, wow, this is really cool. I had to get used to sleeping initially, especially the Northeast region, man. I don't know like what it is. If their roads are just bad shape. I was having like weird dreams too, just to like share with you like a short narrative. Like, man, I had this one weird dream in particular where it was like bumper cars, and I would wake up and I would just be like rattling around in my bunk because it's like this. It's not even like a twin size mattress. It's tiny
like this,
and you're just in there, and it's maybe 6 feet long. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's about 6 feet long. Like for most people, you know, that's fine. But a lot of people, there's some tall guys that we had. I was like, how the heck are they fitting in there? But
Yeah.
Yeah, what was your favorite city that y'all visited?
Yeah. So favorite city, I really enjoyed a bunch of the cities, but you know, there's probably a couple different perspectives I'll take on it. Is like as far as like moving to a city, I was in love with Denver. Just the whole surrounding area, the climate, the high altitude. It's like some crisper, cleaner air.
Yeah.
Like I said, you got the mountains, the beautiful scenery. I loved the downtown area. Just in the part of Denver, there's a place called Cherry Creek. Really, really nice. It's kind of upscale, like for sure. Like it's a little bit uppity and kind of high end. But it's not like crazy. It's like pretty classy. You get like some young people there. There's some really nice restaurants, and like I went to a really nice sushi place there. Super good. But just like a really nice place to walk around and just enjoy the city.
Yeah.
It's not crazy. You don't get like I didn't see a like exuberant amount of tourists. Like it seemed pretty chill.
That's nice.
And then like I said, you go
No party buses?
Dude, I didn't see any of that. I mean, maybe some people would say otherwise, but like while I was
no
there,
bachelorette parties.
I saw some groups, but it seemed all pretty classy to me. You know, like I don't know, you guys know Nashville. Like you go to Broadway, and it gets wild, man.
Yeah.
Like
A little ratchet.
it was totally different feel, much classier vibe.
Well, can you imagine Nashville without the bachelorette parties and the tourists?
No, dude, that's like what makes it.
Yeah, that's kind of the culture, bro.
I mean, the drunk wagons. What do they call the things? They pedal the puddle.
Oh,
They-
pedal cart. What is it?
Yeah,
I don't
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Those things. I see those all over the place.
everywhere.
What, so I'm sure you had like your favorite songs from OneRepublic before tour, and did any of those, your favorites change, or like what were the favorite ones to watch them perform?
Yeah, dude, that's a great question. So, for the most part, they had like the same set list. They would adjust here and there, but for the most part, it was roughly the same. I really liked like one that stood out to me that's not like a huge hit, but like not everybody knows it. But it's called "Rescue Me."
Yeah,
That's a great song.
Great song.
Go check that one out if you haven't heard it. But yeah, they had a ton of really good songs that I loved. "Counting Stars" was like a really good one. "I Lived," really good one. "Secrets," I really like that one because it's got the really cool cello part in the front. That's Brent playing that, and just every night was just on point. Just
That's cool.
So cool to watch because you don't see like cello typically.
Yeah.
Like it's not a really common instrument, but he just
Killed it.
would just kill it. Yeah.
What were some things that you learned from those guys as far as their mentality and approach to that life? And I know a lot of them are, it's not like they're these young rock stars anymore. They're older guys.
Totally. Yeah. Family guys.
Yeah.
I would say a couple things off the top of my head. Obviously, balance is a big thing. They do so much with traveling and all that stuff. Like they have to have balance with their family and all that stuff, their home lives. And they can't do too much, music, playing. Like they have to have some downtime, and so that was one thing I saw. But also along with that was like a really high level of perfectionism. And that was, some of the things I saw almost like kind of crippling almost for some of them. Not crippling like really, really severe, like bad anxiety, but just like you could see like the humanity. You know, these guys are like super, super good. They're clean, like they kill rock stars on stage, but they're perfectionists. They're very critical on themselves. You know, they might get in their head occasionally on certain things, and just the way that they, you know, prevail over that and overcome all that. Like it's really cool to watch, just like the level of professionalism they have. But yeah, I noticed a lot of perfectionism, like for sure, like to a level that I think transcends like most people.
Yeah.
And you would kind of like, it kind of makes sense a little bit when you see, you know, the area that, you know, the workforce that they're in, the field that they're in, and how much pressure there is on them to put out these big hits and write this song for so and so. They got to be on their game, and they really are. So it's cool to watch, and translating that into like the workouts. I thought it was really cool because you know, I'm working with these guys who don't have a lot of like boxing experience, or, you know, some didn't have a lot of working out experience, but they were really quick at picking up, you know, like details and figuring out like how to, you know, like with throwing combos and stuff like that. I could see the tenacity, and I could see just like the persistence and the focus and just like the intensity in a lot of those guys.
Yeah, it transcends just them as musicians
Totally.
and artists.
Totally.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
But yeah, that was one of the big things I saw, was just like the, you know, the hard work and the preparation they took to just get it just right.
Yeah.
You know, like even every night after the show, like not just the band, but like the backline guys that I was on the bus with those guys, you know, the guitar techs, the front of house, the stage manager, crew chief, drum tech, etc. But those guys, I mean, the way they communicate and the way that they're on every little thing, you know, like they're listening and they can just spot like any little fine detail, adjust this instrument or adjust that, like every little thing. You know, the timing of the show, you know, they have the playback, Jackson setting the whole thing in motion from the get-go, communicating with the guys, hey, you have this much time, hey, we got to speed it up to get on track with the show, get on schedule. But again, it's this well-oiled machine, and everybody's just like bang, 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 just does their job really perfectly. And it's funny because like when the show's not perfect, you know, quotations, like for the band and the crew, you know, there'd be some nights where you get on the bus after the show and they're like, you know, I didn't really feel like that was not that good, you know. And I'm like, dang, really? And like, you know, like I had friends or people at the show and they're like, dude, that was amazing. Yeah. But again, it's like their level of just like fine tuning, or, you know, honing in on certain things and being very particular and detail oriented and perfectionist about a lot of things. That's what I think opens up the doorway for them to be so hyper successful.
That's fantastic. What do you got?
I don't know what's on the list. You have any? I guess like the thing that surprises me about hearing you talk about tour is, I think in my mind as someone who's never experienced it, I see it as this like hyper glorified like rock star life of like we go, we perform, we party, we leave. Totally. And hearing you talk about it, and maybe it's because they're a little older now, it seems so much more professional and so much more like exhausting than I could ever imagine.
Honestly, yeah, it's interesting you kind of bring that up. Like they're a little bit older, you know, they're in their 40s. Yeah. So they're like family guys, and you listen to their music and it's all like family friendly stuff, right? Yeah. So like all positive vibes. So the crowds that they draw in, you know, and the culture that they draw in is
pretty
usually
like wholesome.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so as far as like the party stuff and like the debauchery and the drugs and the sex and all that stuff, the rock star life, it wasn't like that, you know. Like there's a lot of like good Christian guys, like I said, family guys. You know, they're just trying to like catch some sleep for the next show. Yeah. You know, and don't get me wrong, like a lot of them will crack beers and hang out, maybe smoke a cigar every now and again, or, you know, they'll do things like that and they'll cut loose. But for the most part, I mean, they're kind of on a tight ship, you know. Like I said, they got to FaceTime their families. They got to get rest. You know, they're barely sleeping on buses a lot of times. And then they got to get up and get going, you know. So, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
Going to sleep at 2, waking up at 7 or 8.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
On a tour bus?
Absolutely.
That's exhausting.
Absolutely.
And so, what's your next step look like, or where you what's plan starting tomorrow as far as the next couple weeks, and what do you think about the future as far as what you want to do, and has that changed?
Yeah, it's funny because coming back, I definitely felt, I was like, man, this whole experience it's now in the past. I feel like it's like you mentioned before. It's kind of burst open the doorway though for more future opportunities. So yeah, I would like to open up my own gym, and it's something I'm working on, kind of business plan. I have some stuff written up, like business model and all that stuff. Just looking at different locations and stuff like that for opening up a boxing gym. I would like to have a fighting gym is really what my goal is. I would like to even get ready to do a couple fights maybe this next year. I'd like to do that, yeah, because it's I have a lot of clients and training stuff, and I want to open up a gym. But I train every day. I love training. I love competing. Yeah. I would like to. I'd like to jump in the ring. Yeah. Even if it's I tell this to people all the time. With fighting, you have to be smart. Mm-hmm. You can't. Some people do. You can just run out and fight and do whatever, but there's a lot of risk involved. So understanding how to kind of manage that risk, and a lot of these fighters don't get paid much. So I would like to get into the fighting world, maybe do a little bit more amateur, probably step up and do maybe a couple pro fights in the next couple of years. That's what my goal is for sure.
Wow. Have you told your mom this yet?
It's funny. I've mentioned it to her. I had a fight lined up over the last couple of years, and it got canceled. And my mom was happy. She was a little bit, she gets all weird about that stuff. Dude, she wouldn't even, when I was competing in college, she wouldn't come watch me. Even when I was winning and I was kicking ass, she was just I can't watch, But
that's funny.
Yeah, man. So that's kind of the future is for me. Like I said, I love to tap more into the online space. I know there's a lot of stuff going on. It's a very flooded market. Yeah. But my biggest thing is I love to help people optimize their health and their fitness journey, right? Yeah. There's a lot of people, a lot of gurus, trainers, etc. So, I'm very flexible where I could fall into that industry and that field. This last couple months, I got to go on road with a band, and there will, I'm sure, be more opportunities like that in the future. But yeah, man, I'm hungry to, interact, engage, and coach and help as many people as possible. People who are just hungry to have a better, happier lifestyle. People who are trying to build confidence. People who are trying to just do more. People who want to get more out of life, and just feel more with life. That's what I'm all about. Even if it's just like this, just having good discussion and good conversation. This is what I live for.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's fantastic. It's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if there's any way that we can help out with that, we've been fortunate enough to meet cool people too. Not so much in that specialized of an industry, but as far as all the extra things on the business side, mm-hmm. and publishing side, and getting your name out there, and like you said, this idea and program of training music artists.
Yeah.
It doesn't
totally.
If you go to Belmont right now and you go into a commercial guitar class, they're not going to look like they work out. But imagine if they did. Yeah.
So, honestly, it's funny because, to me, I don't look at it that strange.
Yeah.
Because, my mindset is always the same. It's whoever it is, no matter what you're doing. Now, our plan might be different, right? Like our workout plan, our diet plan, our regimen, it might differ, right? But we're still trying to take a balanced, a holistic, healthy approach, right, to the food that we eat, right, to the stuff that we consume, put in our bodies, and into our daily routine to try to get, you know, better blood flow and more muscle density and more range of motion. And these things lead to a better life, right?
Yeah.
And so not everybody's the same, but I'm looking for anybody who wants to be healthier and happier and just have a better lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, like, just as in relation to the tour, you know, it was just really cool to see the guys, their mindset, you know, kind of shift a little bit in terms of like going through the workouts. A lot of times, even like right before the show, you know, there's a lot of times where like Bryn or Eddie or Zach, bro, like one of the guys, like a lot of times we're training right before the show because they like to get that pump and they like to clear their head and just kind of get in that state of mind before they get on the stage. But it was just so cool to see how that benefited them physically, mentally, to prepare them for that 2 hours and then thereafter, right? Like the conditioning, like mentally going through all that, the stress and everything. Just to have this sector on the tour of like people come to me to like feel better, you know, like people texting me about their mental health, and I'm just like, man, that's awesome. Like when I have like one of these guys, you know, one of these guys texting me saying, you know, like, dude, like this is awesome, like I need this. You know, it's great for my mental health. Like I feel way better. Like,
and it makes you feel better too, and
gosh.
to continue to work to offer the best insight and programs and motivation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll be real with you, man. Like I spent every day, you know, I had a very, it was different day to day, but I held on to some things, like some staples, right? Like I had to stretch every day. I had to work out every day. I did some cardio every day. But I had to open up my Bible every day. I had to pray every day.
Yeah.
Because that's what kept me aligned with my mission and my purpose. It wasn't anything self-centered. It was just, no, like I'm going to just serve the will of the Father. And so I just allowed him to kind of work through me in terms of how to help people, you know, what's the right thing to say to these people. You know, I didn't find myself in a position where I was like, oh, like I need to be the center of attention, or, oh, like I need to be this hotshot trainer. It's just like, I was just there to just like anybody who wants to like get something better, you know, even if it's just like making a better decision on, you know, the catering, you know, going through catering, navigating that can be a little bit challenging for somebody who doesn't have a conception of macros or, you know, good fuel sources or, you know.
Yeah. And did a lot of the guys on tour have somewhat of an understanding of that, or were you teaching a lot of people
yes
in
and
that
no,
aspect as well?
you know, because it's the education, but also it's like the discipline, and this goes for like any environment. It's when you're around people who enable you, right, you're gonna typically do those things, right? Like if you're around a bunch of people who drink all the time, that rubs off on you, right? So, and that's why it's so important, you know, you hear that phrase, like you're an average of the 5 people you hang out with. My dad used to say, you hang out with a skunk, you smell like one, right? So it's kind of like that, you know, you want to put yourself in an atmosphere, an environment, you know, where you feel more obligated to do healthy, good things, you know, and that's that accountability. And that's sort of what I try to be without being, you know, annoying or like too like over the top on this, you know, because some people are at different levels. You know, I don't want to like psych somebody out. Some people would see me working out and they'd be like no, like screw that, you know, like I don't want to do bear crawls up the hill and whatever, you know, like so finding ways to like baby step them. Get them doing something. Get them doing a couple lunges, right? Like, build their confidence up. And then then next thing you know, because like my favorite thing personally, like, as a trainer, is when I hear somebody say like they can't do it, and then to like see them shift from like the negative, I can't do this, to then they're like doing it, and they're like doing it easily, like intuitively, and it's just like,
wow, look
second
at that.
nature.
Yeah, it's like it really is that easy, and that's something that I know that it's difficult too, is this just taking that first step forward, because it's so easy. And I was explaining this to somebody recently. Once you can get up out of your bed, or get up off the couch, or get out the front door, the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps are easier. And then obviously once you get to the 100th step and you have these big milestones, things can get difficult. But it's incredible that you say that, because like I'll see, we're fortunate enough to have so many talented friends, athletically, academically, creatively, and like I want them all to do so well, but I'll talk with a friend who's big into country music saying, dude, you need to do this thing with dance music, or trying to get somebody to kind of jump out of their comfort zone can be so difficult sometimes.
Oh yeah.
But then even just picking out outfits for friends or whatever it may be, like they're like, I don't know if that's what I usually wear.
Totally.
And the next day I'm like, what'd you think about that outfit? And they're like, oh, absolutely, I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
But what was like a thing that you did? Because obviously you got to like establish credibility. You have to, it's not like you're a guy off the street. Like they knew what you were there for. But was there any kind of struggles there as far as like not negative feedback or like ignoring you? But was there ever a time where you're like, you just gotta trust me on this, whether it's training or just like, and not even, it doesn't even have to be with tour. It could be with any of your clients previously, or just anything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, as a trainer, it can be really difficult in general. Dealing person to person, everybody has their own set of, maybe prior injuries or back problems, etc. And so having like an early on phase, like some sort of consultation process. I tried to really spend time getting to know the guys, talking to them, picking their brain a little bit, figuring out, like their families and like stuff that they do in their free time. What do you see doing after tour life? Just kind of get to know them as people, and then breaking. So once you have that rapport, right, and then you kind of understand them and sort of some of their specific needs, then it's like, okay, like put a little bit of challenge on them, right? Start like stacking up a little bit on them, not to like get them to like crumble and break, but just to challenge them, get them out of their comfort zone, right? And then you always see this. You'll get a point where you'll see that doubt, right? They'll start saying no. And then that's where I have like, okay, now I find that threshold. That's where I need to get through, right? It's not even physical, it's more mental, right?
Yeah.
Like doing a box jump, right? Most people just walking up to a box, it's about 2 feet high, whatever you do, 4 feet. It can be really mentally deterring to jump up there, right? And so like working with those guys on like trusting not just me as their trainer, but like really fundamentally learning to trust themselves and their bodies, right? That's what it is. And so finding ways to modify, like, okay, you can do this. Now we work to the next level, progressions, using the bands, things like that. But yeah, man, it can be tough for sure. Like when people have like certain injuries, or if they're just like reluctant to do something because they don't trust themselves, they're maybe not sure if they trust you. And that just took time, like I said, really building rapport with the guys, checking in with them, showing that I really care, because then once they understood that I really cared genuinely, they were more trusting of me, right? I wasn't just there to like, boost my clout and just be like, oh, like, yeah, like this is cool, I'm OneRepublic trainer. Because I never really felt like that. I felt like, no, like I have a sense of responsibility, and like I'm here to be a professional and, do what I got to do as a personal trainer. But yeah, man. So I like in a general sense, like looking back and like towards the end of the tour too, we had like a kind of end of tour party, and
kind of had a chance to like reflect and talk to some of the guys and all stuff, and one of the guys, Irish actually, the crew chief, you know, we were talking and he was like, dude, like, honestly, he's like, I feel like you are like one of the, are you getting something?
Yeah, keep going, sorry.
No, you're good. But yeah, so we're hanging out, this after show party, we're kind of reflecting on the tour, and I was kind of a little bit in this state of mind of like, man, like, you know, I really hope that like people felt my worth out here, you know, like I hope I made a good enough impact when it's all said and done. Like I hope that I did the best that I could, like from everybody's point of view. Like I felt like I wanted to get the most out of it, and I was talking to Irish, and he's like, dude, honestly, he's like, you're one of the most like valuable people out here. And I was like, yeah, like you're just saying that, like I know all these technical jobs you guys have, like he's like, honestly though, dude, like I'm not even kidding, because he's like, I've seen so much cultural development, like from the whole crew and the band. Everybody has gotten on this like health kick, you know. I captured a couple good moments of like getting into a gym. You know, they had like some nice workout facilities occasionally at some of the venues, and you know, catching some clips of the gym just being filled up. Like everybody's in there doing their thing. And like I just kind of zoom around the room, and I'm just like, man, like we got a couple of the band guys in here. We got like 6, 7 crew guys. Like it was just like the culture. And then like it got to a point where, you know, I was setting up these ice baths, and this guy Tim, he was so funny, great guy, guitar tech, came in about 2/3 of the way through the tour, and he was just like, oh dude, you're the trainer. He's like, that's awesome. You know, he would be jumping in, doing different workouts with me, and you know, we'd, even on the bus and stuff like that, be doing like push-up challenges and all that kind of stuff. Like we got like a 15-hour bus ride, you know, like every hour on the hour. All right, we're gonna knock out some push-ups, we're gonna knock out some dips, leg raises, whatever, Bulgarians, and he was one of those guys who was just in there with me. But what really kind of caught me by surprise, and it was a great surprise, is when he found out about the ice bath. And he got a taste for it.
Oh,
and it was pouring down rain. We're in Raleigh, North Carolina. Did you post
a video about this?
I did post some videos, and I don't know if I got all the footage out there, but I posted a cool video of like, it was a bunch of us, because he took it like the one day we did it in Raleigh. It was pouring down rain, and he was just like, dude, let's just go for it. Like we were just like on this kind of like tough, gritty grind. We're like, let's just do it. Like who cares? Like, you know, YOLO. And dude, he loved it to the point where like he did a minute first. He got out, like, you know, it's really overwhelming. It's shocking. And then I went in, did several minutes, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna go back in. Like he just got so gung ho. And then like the next day, he's like, yo, like where's the ice bath? We get it set up. I'm like, all right, Tim, like let's go.
Yeah.
And then like the next day, next thing you know, we had like 8 guys, like all crew guys, coming down like behind the buses, had our ice tub set up. We had the ice chest that the local venue let us, you know, just grab from, filled it up. And it was just the coolest thing to see all these guys out here kind of conquering their fears, getting out of their comfort zone, doing something that they don't have to do. And, you know, but we're all in this together, right? And it's like that culture that I talked about, you know, where you could see like people are more lively and more driven towards like doing some of these kind of disciplined,
well, they're not easy,
challenging things. Yeah.
So well, it's been fantastic to hear about the tour life.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, like a year ago, we probably did not think that's what you'd be spending, 3 months out of the next year?
Dude, I had no clue, honestly. I'll say like, definitely like stay humble, you know, through whatever's going on. Like stay humble, stay in a mindset of just like preparation, right? Have a purpose, have a cause. Like I said, for me, it's like waking up every day and aligning myself with God, reading scripture, finding wisdom in it, hearing these things, reading these things that I needed to hear, and just like feeding my soul so that I could keep moving forward. Because if you do everything for yourself all the time, you're chasing money, you're chasing this and that, like you're gonna lose it.
Mm-hmm.
You'll lose yourself. But ground yourself to that higher calling, to that higher serving, and the possibilities are just endless. You know, and I think the feeling that you get, the reward that you get from influencing others in a really positive way, man, it's just so rewarding, and it's so cool to go through that. And like I said, just got to stay humble through that, ups and downs, you know, and I think that's where you really get to engage at the highest level with life. You know, not in a pompous state or look at me state, or, you know, getting carried away and too big for your, you know, head too big for you. Just staying in your lane and just constantly like asking a question like, how can I add value? How can I add value to my surroundings? How can I contribute? You know, that was, I mean, because that was something that like was always preached into me, was like, you got to contribute somehow. So I feel like I found, you know, my calling. I feel like I found a way that I could add value and help people with my knowledge and my experience with health and fitness and training, martial arts, etc. And so yeah, I just wanna pour that all out to everybody around me as much as I can. So
That's one hell of a soundbite right there. That's.
I feel like I'm just rambling, and you guys are just like, okay, when's it gonna be done?
On Good Morning America. I mean, no, I'm serious.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. I mean, really everything that I feel like you've touched on is anything we could have imagined visiting about and more. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
As far as like us being, you know, in our early 20s, what are some things that you've figured out along the way that would be beneficial to guys like us, girls like us, even younger generation,
Mm-hmm.
even some older guys and girls, and you know, I'm sure we'll hopefully have a great audience to listen to a lot of this wisdom and these good stories.
So, you know, this is kind of a cliche, you know, working hard. Not just like working hard, but like find a way to like channel yourself. Put all your energy and commitment into something, you know, because like you don't, like, you know, always hear like, oh, don't spread too thin, you know, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Rather, but find something that you love and that you can sacrifice for, something that you love and you will commit yourself to and you will work relentlessly at. And I think that's been the biggest thing for me, is like with health and fitness, I found this platform that I can just give my heart and soul to. So when you find something like that, you find something you can give your heart and soul to, you find something that fulfills you, right, in your heart, that's when you know you're on the right track. Staying humble, ask questions. Like, a lot of people are so concerned about like how they look, or they look stupid, and I think maybe like Jordan Peterson said something about like you might look stupid, but like that's it. That's the one time you look a little bit stupid, but then like now you're not. So it's like, humble yourself a little bit. Acknowledge when you don't know something. Acknowledge when you're not an expert in a field. And even if you are like a master of something, like you know, you feel like you have a certain level of experience, you put your 10,000 hours, still look for ways to optimize, look for ways to better, you know, do research in that field. And, you know, people talk about the meta or whatever you want to call it. It's like, look for mentors, look for people who are doing it at a higher level for you, and implement what they're doing, right? Mm-hmm. That's the easiest, most straightforward advice I can give. Is, you know, like, even like I got really into chess like several years ago, and like when it comes to studying chess, like one of the best ways you can better your chess is by watching games from grandmasters, right? So like a high level player who's already mastered the game, who's already played through thousands, maybe tens or however many thousands of games, you watch some of their games. You go to that database of hundreds of thousands of games from the pros, from the elites, And it goes for anything, whatever sport you're doing, right? You find somebody who's doing it at the highest level
And study it.
and you study that. And, you know, like whether it's boxing or whether it's training, try to find a very specific goal. Because, like, for example, in working out, there's so many different fields, right? Like, you get the CrossFitters, you get the power lifters, you got the strongman, right? You get various athletes in between. So figure out what it is that you're trying to do. What is your goal? What is your function? What is your purpose? And then learn everything you can about it. You know, humble yourself in that and just dive in head first. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to be wrong or be stupid. Those are some of the things that I'm still like getting over, you know, like the voice in your head, the ego, the pride, etc. You know, just put yourself out there. Be a learner at every single turn. Just be a learner. Seek wisdom, right? And wisdom isn't just like, oh, 2 + 2 is 4, right? Wisdom can be really deep, and that's one of the things I try to like relay to like younger people, even like young 20s, and like even I'm still heeding to this, is like, even like you keep getting older and older and older, but like there's still people older than you and there's still wisdom above you at all times.
Yeah.
So like always be looking up. Always, that's why I keep circling back to the be humble, because it's good to be humble too. I've learned, because then you know you don't look like such an asshat when you fail, right?
Yeah.
People aren't rooting against you all the time. You'll build a much more solid circle network. Right, people will want to be around you more. Like, people don't want to be around pompous assholes. It doesn't even matter if you're like, if you become successful that way. Like, you're gonna be probably really lonely.
Yeah.
At some point, you know. So,
Yeah.
work on building relationships. Use your network. Build healthy, like positive relationships. Yeah, I mean that's. I know there's a lot of different things, but hopefully you guys took something from that.
No. Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're gonna call it there.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's been a
we
pleasure.
appreciate your time.
I appreciate
That's awesome.
it. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I could talk with you guys for hours. You know.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Like the setup, the setting here, real homey,
Appreciate it.
relaxing, and
Yeah.
yeah, more than happy to get into some good discussion.
Well, good. Well, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for making the time for us.
Of course.
We'll get this out soon to the consumer, and hopefully your mom won't be too surprised by your future boxing career or fighting career.
Dude, I know. Like, she's always kind of been against it, but she also knows that she like can't really control me or like stop me from being a man.
Wait, she can't? You mean your mom doesn't?
Totally, dude. Yeah. She had me on some reins for a while, but I'm just kidding.
That's how it goes. That's just how it goes.
Well, good.
All
Well,
right.
yeah. Well, good luck to you. Again, thank you for your time, and yeah, until next time.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah,
Good
appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Word. Awesome. It's a wrap.